Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Speak On It. I am your boy, R.W. Coolings. First and foremost, giving honor to the guy who allows me to come with you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody doing out there this morning? Broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. Is what we do here every Saturday morning on Speak On the Show. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Feels good to be in front of the microphone again. Feels good to be in your presence. I got something going on here. Hold on 1 minute. Let's see what we got here. Uh-oh, something ain't right, something ain't right, something ain't right. There we go. Brighten it up a little bit in here. Good morning, everybody. Let's get these formalities out of the way and get into this show. 844-904-2665, 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. All we ask is say what you mean what you say. If you call in as friends, we leave as family. That's what we do here on the Speak On the Show every Saturday morning. We got comments already. Good morning, Brian Hoodie. Good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you, bro. I got to get my tongue right before I get it started this morning. Let me slow down for a minute. I'm excited to be back. Let me slow down for a minute. OT, my brother, welcome back. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Anybody that hasn't checked out OT's show on YouTube, go there, check it out. He had a good interview yesterday. I can't remember who it is. I'm sorry. I apologize, OT, but it was a good interview. Go there, listen, download, share, like, subscribe, do all that. The same thing you need to do with the Speak On the Show. Do it here, do it there, do it everywhere. Big Al, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. And Terrence Collins, my big brother. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. I got something special near the end of the show when my body is so stay tuned, stay tuned. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate everybody for holding me down while I was gone on the for the vacation time. Took a little time off. But let's start with this. Thank you for all the birthday shout outs. Thank you for all the birthday texts. However you reached out to me to say happy birthday, I truly, truly appreciate it. Number 57. Still feel like I'm 21. I may not look that now, but I still feel 21. So I appreciate everybody. Appreciate all the shout outs, the acknowledgments and everything. Makes brother feel good. Made brother feel good. So it's an unscripted Saturday. What we do here every Saturday morning, Speak On the Show. We're going to get into this, but, let's go ahead and pause for the call. All right, let's go on and get into this. So, in the 2 weeks I've been gone, there's a lot of things been going on, a lot of things happening and everything. But I want to start off with this. You know, Donald Trump is under a lot of investigations right now. A lot of investigations. You got the documents, the classified documents, and rape trial in New York, and the Manhattan District Attorney with the Trump and the taxes, and there's a whole lot of different things going on. But there was one that jumped out this week that I seen that is really, and I know I've said this a couple times, but I think this one, if it is true, is going to cause a ripple effect amongst a lot of things. And what I seen this week was the Live Golf. I don't know what LIV stands for, but Live Golf is going against the PGA Tour, and there was a lot of controversy going back and forth with the golfers. People that play golf know about this, but it's Saudi backed. Saudi Arabia is backed. They're playing at Trump golf courses and everything. That's where they've been holding these tournaments. And something that came out this week is the Department of Justice is investigating the Live Golf organization in association with, in accordance with, the classified documents. Now, what I seen in this was it said that there is backroom talk that this investigation into Live Golf centers around former President Donald Trump allegedly, I'm gonna say allegedly because it ain't true. I don't know what's all there yet, but it's allegedly has given access to some of the documents to the Saudis. Let me say that again. He has given access to some of these documents to the Saudis. Now, I know we talked about this in the beginning when these documents came up, and there was a lot of controversy and a lot of conversation about what he was doing with these documents. The chickens may be coming home to roost. There's no way you can tell me that and they said that he was showing documents to people in Mar-a-Lago, showed somebody a map that it was classified map and all these different things with these documents. But you still got these people that support him in spite of. And now the Department of Justice in this investigation of the unclassified documents is now bleeding into the Live Golf, where there's some type of coordination with former President Donald Trump, Jared Kushner, classified documents, and the Saudis. Let's keep an eye on this because this could be the one that shakes it up. This could be the one that breaks it up and shakes it up and does all that. But in the meantime, in between time, the former president who incited an insurrection this week, and I think it was just yesterday, I guess, 4 Proud Boys face up to 20 years now because they've been sentenced or found guilty of a seditious conspiracy. And that's to overthrow the government. They can face up to 20 years in prison, but they found guilty. Now it's all about the sentencing. So the sentencing should be coming up as far as how many years they're going to have to do and so on and so forth. One of the things I've seen floating around and everything, everybody's asking, what about him? What about Trump? What about this? And I'm going to say it this way. Not only him with what he incited, but remember all the undertones we heard about Republican senators, Republican congressmen giving people tours and all that. All this is starting to catch ground now. See, they got the little fish already. They got the little fish, the ones that were breaking windows and tearing up stuff. And now they got the ones, the seditious conspiracy. Now we start moving up to the top. See, sometimes justice is slow. Justice is slow, but it eventually comes around to get what the meaning of the whole purpose was. Now, will they get these people who were in charge because some of these people feel they're Teflon and there's no consequence against what they do? I don't know. But we all know from the outside looking in that this was not something just done by those people that day that decided to go to the Capitol. This was planned. There was some planning at the White House at the time. There was planning in the Capitol at the time by certain people. Let's be real about it. So we're going to keep an eye on this, and we backtracking, going over this again. But some of these investigations have taken a while to go because this is 2023. 2023. Think about it. And then we bleed into, I'm trying to get all these people out of the way real quick. Your friend and mine, Clarence Thomas. You know, the Clarence Thomas thing with Harlan Crow, as far as this money and what he's been taking him on trips and paying for his grandnephew's schooling, private school, and all these different things. The Supreme Court has got a spotlight on them now for all these unethical things that they've been doing as far as money's involved, as far as what's going on there and who's getting money and who's this. And now other judges, Supreme Court judges, have been identified as hearing cases that came in front of their court and people were involved that actually authored their books and they didn't decide to recuse themselves from the cases and so on and so forth. So all these things are coming out now, but it started with Clarence Thomas and Harlan Crow. We've known, we as citizens have known that a lot of this stuff goes on behind closed doors that we never really hear about because it doesn't get to the point of being investigated. Let's just be real. But I've always said this and I'll say it again. And it goes with the Supreme Court justices just like it does with the congressmen, the senators, the president. If you go into office and you run for office and you're there to help the people, do the will of the people by the Constitution, the amendments, and everything they always talk about, and you're making a salary of $100 and some thousand to $200 and some $1,000 a year, how do you become a multimillionaire sitting in Congress and Senate and the White House and the Supreme Court if you're not taking money behind closed doors somehow, some way? There's no way. And just like the stock market, when they think, I seen something this week where someone, I think she was a Democrat, so I don't want to think people, I'm just on the Republicans, but a Democrat found out that the bank that just crashed was going to crash. So she took her money from that bank and put it in another bank because JP Morgan was taking over the bank. So she took her money from one place and put it in JP Morgan because she knew the bank was going to crash. But we as citizens see people get caught with racketeering and running money across, money laundering and going across state lines and all these different things. But these political people continue to be corrupt, continue to be able to do what they have to do or do what they want to do, and there's no consequences. These are the things that we're seeing. These are the things that we understand. And I don't care, and I'm going to say this right now. I don't care if what political party you choose to vote for, support, back, whatever way you want to talk about it. All of them do the same thing. They all do the same thing. And we're guilty because we continue to put these people in there without our best interests in hand. You've heard me say it many, many times. Without our best interests in hand, they're up there, they're doing these things. We see it, we get mad about it, but we continue to put them in office. We need to start holding these people accountable. The Department of Justice needs to do their job. I can go on and on about this, but it's the same thing. We've talked about this too many times, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Edward Allen, Clarence Thomas getting ready to get his wake-up call. Yeah, we say this, and I get what you're saying, bro. But here's the thing about it. Clarence Thomas is going to get a wake-up call, but there's nothing in writing ethically with the Supreme Court that he's done wrong. All he didn't do was identify the money and where the money was coming from and things like this. His mother living in a house, the man's paying for it. So I'm going to ask this question, because this just came to me. Ask this question. What Clarence Thomas is doing for Harlan Crow, millionaire. Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice. He's paying him to do his will through the court system. Let's just call it that. So I'm going to ask this question in this way. When you think about it, is Clarence Thomas basically doing the work for and in the reverse mindset of slavery? Y'all gonna get mad when I say it, but let's be real. Is Harlan Crow his master? Is Clarence Thomas the slave in this situation where he's doing his will and he's paying him? And the only difference is now he's getting paid. We weren't getting paid when we were doing these things before. Just a question. Just a question. You know, some people get mad, some people get upset. It is what it is. But I have to put it out there. And then his wife taking money. Kellyanne Conway's caught up in that now because she had something to do with a money transaction that went to Jenny Thomas, and they asked for her name, Jenny Thomas, not to be identified in the money and all this. So they knew what they were doing, but they continued to allow them to do it. They continue to allow them to do it, and there's no consequence up to this point. So yes, Edward Allen, is he about to get a wake-up call? We would hope so. We would hope so. And not only because of what he's done since he's been up there, as far as being quiet and having his nose in the air like he's better than everybody and all these type things, but the simple fact of wrong is wrong, right is right. And he knew what he was doing. He reported some, didn't report none. The stuff he didn't report, he knew would be a controversial. That's why he never reported. Let's just be honest about it. Let's just be honest about it. We'll watch it. We'll keep looking. And we take it from there. So I got a video I want to show you guys. It's about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes or something like that. But I need to play this because Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, Mark Robinson. This man came to be lieutenant governor, not because of his political affiliation, not because of his, any of his things about what he was trying to do for the people or anything. He was recognized about 2018, somewhere in there, because he came into a town hall and did a speech about gun control. And in this speech, he was talking about, I'm a gun carrying citizen and all these different things. And nobody has ever really heard anyone of color come before a town hall and defend gun control in the way that it is right now. And this is what Mark Robinson did. And this catapulted, I'm going to call it what it is, they catapulted him into the Republican Party. And now he's the lieutenant governor of North Carolina, and to be running for governor with the possibility of becoming governor of North Carolina. And this video I'm going to play is from 2021. It's from 2021. It's dealing with reparations. Some of y'all may have seen it this week. They've been talking about it, but I pulled it and I want to look at it and I want to talk about it a little bit. But let me give you a little background on Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson thinks COVID was a real threat. He thinks COVID wasn't a real threat. Systemic racism doesn't exist. And the movie Black Panther was created by an agnostic Jew and put to film by satanic Marxists. These are his views. Mr. Lieutenant Governor, Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, Mark Robinson. And then he said, the right loves to say the left is filled with Marxists. It's a weird obsession. Robinson also said President Obama was a worthless anti-American atheist who wanted to bring America to its knees and then raise it back to its feet as a European-style socialist hellhole. His words, not mine. He also called, watch this now, Michelle Obama a man. He called Michelle Obama a man. So this is who Mark Robinson is. But he's lieutenant governor of North Carolina. So I'm gonna play this video. It's about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. But I want you to listen and listen very closely to what he's saying about reparations. And then we're gonna get into this.
There are some people that were talking about reparations in this country. They wanted reparations. And I remember I made this particular liberal so angry at me because I told them right to their face, nobody owes you anything for slavery. If you want to tell the truth about it, it is you who owes. It's you who owes. Why do you owe? Because somebody in those fields took stripes for you. Somebody, after those fields were ended and slavery was ended, somebody had to walk through Jim Crow for you. Somebody fought wars and died for you. Somebody lived less than because they didn't have what you have, and they did it for you. There are people in their graves right now, and they are there because they were willing to stand up and fight for you. Those folks on the Edmund Pettus Bridge carrying American flags. Take that, Colin Kaepernick. Living in a society that he could scarcely acknowledge, something that he has never known, living with a bigotry that none of us can imagine. Carried American flags on that bridge. And when they were hit upside the head with nightsticks and shot with water hoses and knocked to the ground, they got up and picked those flags up and kept marching. And they did it for you. Nobody owes you anything. If anybody owes, it's you. Because you've been the benefactor of freedom. You are the one that owes. And what do you owe? You owe it to them to get up off your tail and get to school. And when you get to school, you owe it to them to get up off your tail at school and get to work and get some learning in your head. And once you get that schooling in your head and get out of that school, you owe it to them to get to work. And then when you get to work and you get married, you owe it to them to take care of your children and not let the government take care of your children. It's you who owe. Nobody owes you a single solitary thing. The sacrifice and blood that has been laid out in this nation on your behalf, there is a bill at your feet for it. It's time you got up off your tail and went and go pay it.
That's a lot to unpack. A whole lot to unpack. But I'm going to try to unpack some of it. First of all, I don't know if y'all could pay attention to the crowd when they were standing up at the end, but I seen two people of color in the crowd. That's number one. Number two, Edward Allen, you being able to stand there and placate your political base, did they do that for you? That's where I was going. It's amazing to me. It shouldn't. Let me change the word. It's not amazing to me. It's disrespectful to me to sit here and listen to this man talk about what we owe our ancestors when what he is doing goes completely against what our ancestors stood for. Our ancestors fought, talked about the Pettus Bridge and the flag they were carrying and all this stuff, but he never mentioned how they were out there marching for the freedom, for him to be able to stand at that podium to say what he was saying, and people that don't look like him be accepting of it because he's talking to people that look like him and making it seem like he's exempt from anything he was talking about. These people like him, the Candace Owens, the Jason Whitlocks, and I can go on and on, but I'm not even going to give them the airtime today. But when we talk about reparations, we all know when we go to the voting booths that we're able to vote because of our ancestors and the struggles that they went through. We all know that we can go and sit in classrooms and have jobs and get educated and do these things because of our ancestors. Nobody in this United States of America of color is expecting a handout. I'll speak for everybody when I say that. Nobody is expecting a handout. However, we all expect equality and the chance and the opportunity to be as great in this country as other folks are who got a head start because of generational wealth. So when you talk about reparations, when you talk about being paid what we're owed, it's not the fact that we expect something that we shouldn't have. Think about it this way. Every slave that you can think about through history worked, fought, did everything they had to do in order to put us in position to where we're at now. But none of them, through their blood, sweat, and tears, were ever paid for any of the work that they've done. You even heard former President Donald Trump say, and it may have been a political stump speech or whatever, but he even said that this country was built off the backs of African Americans, blacks, whichever way you want to identify it. This country was built off their blood, sweat, and tears. So when this person, and I'm going to call him a person right now, stands up there talking about we owe, it's the reverse of saying that you owe your ancestors, but we don't owe you nothing. And if you notice, he kept saying you owe, you owe. But he falls in that same category as Edward Allen said, but he doesn't see himself as being in that category. Why? Because he's chosen to take a route that exempts him, though he thinks exempts him, from the fact that some of his ancestors are the same ones he talks about that we owe, but he don't feel this is part of that conversation because of the political party that he represents. He's looking for votes. He's looking for people that don't look like him to support him in his run for governor. Now, mind you, I said this was in 2021. This is 2023, but it reared its ugly head this week because we probably never seen it. Probably never seen it. Edward Allen, you know what I'm calling him? Yeah, you can probably call him that. I'm not going to call him that. Sharice Joseph, good morning, good morning. But these are the people that are running for office under a political umbrella that they know are going to accept them down talking, going totally against everything. Watch this now. Everything that the civil rights movement was all about. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, everyone that you know that ever fought, marched, did everything that they needed to do to get us to the point of this, where we're sitting right now. The ones doing slavery, Frederick Douglass, all the way back to Frederick Douglass, people that were doing the 1619 Project, anybody you can think of. By him doing this and saying this, he has exempted himself from any association to that. If you really listen very closely, and you can pull it up on YouTube and listen to it again. And in this article was done by Torrey, and I found it on the Griot. Torrey says slavery was a major economic driver for the South. The History Channel says slavery was so profitable it sprouted more millionaires per capita in the Mississippi River Valley than anywhere in the nation. They say if the Confederacy had been its own nation at the start of the Civil War, it would have been the fourth richest nation in the world. This is the South. The South. Shell and Summerall, what are you speaking on? What you are speaking on is the very reason they want to remove that history. Thank you very much for my lead in. I knew you would come through. What you have to think about, people, is what Ms. Summerall just said here. This is why they're taking the books out of the classrooms. They don't want you talking about the 1619 Project. They don't want you to talk about critical race theory. They don't want you to talk about the injustices that go on. They don't want you to talk about the inequality. And this person here, along with the other minions, we can talk about the Clarence Thomases and the Ben Carsons and all those people, give them license to do what they're doing. There was something that I seen one time, and I can't remember where it was at, and I may be misquoting it. But it says something to the fact when you get to the point as an African-American Black and you lose sight of who you are in this country as a Black African-American person, you're lost. And when you start spewing the vitriol against your own people to make us seem as though we don't understand what we owe or what we're supposed to do or what we need to do or what we've continued to be fighting for, that tells me that you feel that you're part of an elitist group because maybe you have a certain education or you live in a certain location or you have a certain circle of friends you deal with, or you're being financially funded like Clarence Thomas where you've forgotten where you came from. Let's call it what it is. Let's just call it what it is. And this is the part. People like this is where our real fear should be focused on. It's not the ones that you know that have those racist intents that may not look like you. It's the ones that are embedded with us, who act like they're part of the struggle and act like they're trying to help us achieve what we want to achieve. But at the same time, they do speeches like this in front of people that don't look like them, that down talk you. But then when they come back into the community, they act like they're one of us. I'm your brother. I'm up there trying to make change. I got into politics to make the change for all of us. Do you remember how upset we were when Bill Cosby did that? He did a speech. He was doing a comedy show, I think, at the time, but he talked about us as a people. We need to pull our pants up. We need to do this. Everybody remember that when Bill Cosby did that? And Bill Cosby thought, I'm trying to get my people right. That's what he thought he was doing when he did that. But what he didn't realize was while he was chastising us about who we needed to be and what we needed to do and why we needed to act this way and how we need to carry ourselves and all this, when it came time for him financially to try to buy something that was bigger than what they wanted him to buy, he realized he was one of them people that needed to do this, pull his pants up, act a certain way, do all these things, because now he was put back in the category of the people he was talking about by the people he thought were supporting him. As Edward Allen said earlier, Clarence Thomas got a wake-up call, or is about to get a wake-up call. These people like Mark Robinson, all these people that do this will get a wake-up call. They will get a wake-up call. And it's sad that we have to sit and talk about these things, but it's the reality of where we're at. How far we've come is one part of the equation. How much farther we need to go should be our focus. We will never, and I'm going to speak for everybody that listens and everybody that I know, we have never forgotten everything that was done for us to be in the position we are now. Never have we forgotten. We may act a certain way sometimes where it may slip our mind or something, and then something has to pull us back. But we have never gotten to the point where we have forgotten. Tim Scott is next. It made me lose my thought, bro, but that's okay, because with Tim Scott, I watched his video, and I wish I would have posted it here, but you can go watch it on YouTube as well. His announcement that he was running for president. And Tim Scott, in that, started in 1861 with the Civil War. And he went to Fort Sumter and did this video about, the first shots of the Civil War and all this kind of stuff. But he never went so far back as to mention from 1619 up till. He forgot about all the people that fought for him to be able to make that commercial or make that advertisement about him running for president. Mark Robinson forgot that probably his great-great-grandparents and the struggles they went through for him to stand up there and chastise a whole race of people like we don't remember nothing. But those that sit back and look at it that haven't had that struggle, and I mean non-Black people, non-African American, will cheer what he said, because when you say reparations and you say money, the first thing they say is, why do we owe you money when you weren't a slave? They gave the Japanese money. They've given everyone in this country who was wronged some type of benefit for the struggle that they've been through, except for those who were subjected to slavery. Let's just be honest about it. And when we talk about the history, as Ms. Summerall mentioned, when we talk about the history books and how they're trying to take it out of classrooms and what they're trying to do, all these different things that they're doing, you got to look at the playbook. And you got to pay attention to the playbook and how it's being written and how it's being played out. Everybody's main focus is in Florida with DeSantis. That's just one of many. Carolina, Wisconsin, you can go on to Arizona. These places are overthrowing, putting people out of office. Georgia, let me go here for a minute. And I know I'm going all around today, but I'm back, so let me do what I'm doing. I got a lot to catch up on. But in Georgia this week, the legislature came down with something that says that they now have the power. They have the power to overrule anything that the DA Fani Willis or any of the district attorneys in Georgia decide that they want to do if they feel that they're overstepping their bounds in what investigations they're doing. Case in point, the January 6th, January 20, whatever, January 20, the election thing that Fani Willis is investigating right now, they have voted that they have the power to stop her from investigating because they feel that she may be overstepping her bounds. But they said that they will not touch that one. We'll see. But this is happening in all these different states, little small things here and there. And then what people need to understand in Georgia, they never did this until there were 14 elected African-American Black district attorneys that are on the books right now. Never was a problem until now. When you went from 6 to 14, it's an issue. That's where we're at now in Georgia. And all the other states are doing small things similar to that all around the country. Yeah. But back to the reparations. Was also a Republican Senate candidate in Ohio wants reparations for white descendants of Union soldiers who died in the Civil War. Businessman Bernie Moreno shared his viewpoint during the launch of his Senate campaign last week at Little Miami Brewing Company in Milford, Ohio. According to the Tennessee Star, Moreno told supporters at the event, "We stand on shoulders of people like John Adams, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and George Washington. That same group of people later, white people, died to free Black people. It's never happened in human history before, but it happened here in America. That's not taught a lot in schools. Much, is it?" So now he wants reparations for white descendants and Union soldiers because they fought. They fought for the Blacks to not be slaves anymore. And they want reparations for those folks. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. But this is where we are in this country right now, politically, and with our everyday interactions with these folks. Let's go. New York subway. Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely's his name. He was murdered. I'm just going to call it what it is. Y'all call it a homicide or manslaughter. Murdered on the subway. And they made it a point to identify who he was in this chokehold by, murdered by, as being a U.S. Marine veteran. Made it a point to say that. He's a U.S. Marine veteran. They're going back and forth whether they're going to charge him homicide. They let him go after they brought him down and booked him or whatever they did. But Jordan Neely, who's a Michael Jackson impersonator, let me just get into this here. This is Jordan Neely. This is the image that they want you to see of who Jordan Neely is. Not Jordan Neely as a man, but Jordan Neely as a Michael Jackson impersonator on the subways of New York. This is not what Jordan Neely looked like the day that he was murdered by, and I want to get his name right, Daniel Penny. That's not how he looked. That's not what he was doing that day. You see everybody on that train behind Mr. Jordan Neely on that subway? Some people reading their books, some people watching entertainment. Don't know what day this was. But this is what Jordan Neely is known for in New York, a Michael Jackson impersonator. And this is what they keep harping on. Jordan Neely was a Michael Jackson impersonator. Not that he was a human being, not that he was murdered senselessly, but he was a Michael Jackson impersonator. This is what we have allowed the media to minimize our life as impersonators, athletes, and so on, actors, entertainers, so on and so forth. Like our lives don't matter, as we always mention. But Jordan Neely is this man right here. This is Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely died from compression of neck. And that's what the medical examiner ruled. It's what he died from at the hands of Daniel Penny. Excuse me. They said he was having an episode on the subway. That day. But as I pulled up more information, as much information as I could about Mr. Neely, I could never find out who Mr. Neely truly was. I know he was a son, as you can tell. He was born to someone. His mom passed away. They say he went through a depression and everything. That's the only thing I've known so far about Mr. Neely, as far as who he was as a man. But I can tell you who they identify him as in society and what they want you to know about Jordan Neely in society. And let me read it for you. Jordan Neely, according to the New York Daily News, was arrested 42 times in the past 10 years by the New York Police Department and had a documented mental health history with police. He was most recently arrested in November of 2021 on felony assault charges after being accused of slugging a 67-year-old female stranger in the face. And a warrant was issued in that case. The New York Post reported that Neely's mother was murdered by his stepfather in 2007, sinking him into deep depression. The police reportedly ran across him over the years. The Post reported that Neely threatened a train conductor and scared passenger in one incident, was taken to the hospital and shelters in other incidents, asked for psychiatric help because he was hearing voices years ago, and mentioned that he was schizophrenic and had ADHD and was sometimes suicidal. According to the Post, in one instance, Neely was accused of punching a 67-year-old woman, breaking her nose and fracturing her orbital bones. He was incarcerated at Rikers Island until February 9th, 2023 for second-degree assault, and there was a warrant issued for his arrest on February 23rd, according to the Post, which said Neely was once accused of threatening to kill his grandfather. Now, I read all that to you from what the New York Post reported for this reason. Mr. Neely is being identified as a habitual criminal, not as a human being, but as a Michael Jackson impersonator at times on the subway. And this is the same MO that we seen used against George Floyd when he was murdered at the hands of a police officer. Mr. Neely was murdered at the hand of a quote-unquote Marine veteran. He wasn't attacking anybody. Mr. Neely wasn't attacking anybody. He didn't harm anybody. And here's the kicker that I want everybody to concentrate on. Daniel Penny took it upon himself to put Mr. Neely in a chokehold on the subway. He doesn't know him. He doesn't know anything about him. He doesn't know this long track record or long rap sheet that they want to broadcast now. But this man, Daniel Penny, made it a point to put him in a chokehold. Why? What made Mr. Penny so comfortable to put Mr. Neely in a chokehold and hold him until he took his last breath on that subway without knowing anything about this man, because he was having an episode on the subway. Now, mind you, Mr. Neely has been on that subway many, many, many times as a Michael Jackson impersonator. Mr. Penny doesn't know that. Some of the people on the train know that. Some of the people on the train have no clue who he is. But Mr. Penny made it a point to put Mr. Neely in a chokehold because why? Is it privilege? Is he a threat to Mr. Penny? This is where I have a problem. We have been told that Mr. Neely is this hardened criminal because of his arrests, and basically tell us, as they did with George Floyd, that he deserved to die. Let's just cut through the chase. He deserved to die because he was having an episode on the subway, and Mr. Penny should not be held accountable for putting him in a chokehold until he took his last breath. Same story. We've seen it many times. I think it was Aaron Gardner with the cigarette outside of a liquor store, put in the chokehold till he died. But we never hear them make the victims of these crimes, of these acts, of these murders. We never see them or hear them make them human. They identify them by their shortcomings, I want to call them. They want to hold them accountable for everything in their past to what caused their demise. Not the fact that Mr. Penny had no right to put this man in a chokehold, but that Mr. Penny had the right to put him in a chokehold because of everything in his past that Mr. Penny didn't know anything about with Mr. Neely. Now, I'm not the brightest light bulb in the socket, and y'all have heard me say this many times. But if I seen Mr. Neely on the train having an episode, I don't know him. I don't know anything about him. I don't know anything about what kind of record he may have or what kind of confrontations he may have had with law enforcement. But if I'm on that train and I see him having an episode, and I see another person decide that they want to put him in a chokehold when Mr. Neely has bothered nobody, has done nothing to anybody, and I see somebody put him in a chokehold, I know for me, I'm not just going to stand there and watch him kill Mr. Neely because he's having an episode. I can't understand how people stand by and watch people that look like us be murdered at the hands of other folks without understanding who that person is or knowing what that person's about or why that person may be having an episode. I'm still confused on how this continues to happen. And then the reports come out from mainstream media that this man with this smile on his face, who was a Michael Jackson impersonator, deserved to die because of his past. That's where we're at. Is that where we're at? Because I guarantee, and they said he was homeless. They added that in there as well, which may be true. But how many times have we seen people of non-color go places and have these, what they call them, outbursts of whatever they're going to do and yelling at people and attacking people and all this, and we have never seen any of them be killed at the hands of another person? Because if you would reverse that, and I'm going to get into, I don't do comparisons, I'm just going to give you a fact right now. If Mr. Penny was the one who had died at the hands of Mr. Neely in the same situation, being that Mr. Penny was a Marine veteran, they would only concentrate on his veteranship rather than his court record. And Mr. Neely would be concentrated, not that he was a Marine veteran or any type of thing, but he was a thug and this and that and all these other stereotypes that they would want to put on Mr. Neely for killing an innocent white man. Call it what it is. That's an innocent black man that was murdered on a subway because he was having an episode. Let's just break it down to what it is. Eliminate the Michael Jackson impersonator. Eliminate the background as far as what his charges have ever been in his life, what he may have done wrong in his life. And we've all done wrong, but is it a death sentence for what we've done wrong in our past, especially when nobody knows about it, that decides to kill you? Too many times, y'all. Too many times. And then when I was looking for a picture of Mr. Neely, this one and the Michael Jackson impersonator picture were the only two I could find that showed him in the light that I thought was good. They have pictures up of actually showing him in the headlock with Mr. Penny. They have pictures that show him laying on the ground after the fact and everyone standing over it. This is Mr. Neely. He's had a rough time in life. He has some mental issues. It started going down when his mother passed away, which I think all of us can attest to. We've seen these things happen when someone loses a parent. He was homeless. He's struggling. This is Mr. Neely, who was going through some things. But he didn't deserve to die. He did not deserve, and I'm not going to say to die, he did not deserve to be murdered on a subway where he performed at for other folks at the hands of someone who he had never met, who knew nothing about him, but now they want to throw up his past records, police interactions, and all that into the equation. But mind you, he was just having an episode that day. And they want you to think he deserved to die, to be murdered on the subway where he had his joy of performing as a Michael Jackson impersonator. Too many times, too many times, too many times. I don't know what else to say. Let's get into this. Mind, body, and soul, mind, body, and soul. It's the year 2023. We're taking it, getting back to you, getting back to being you, not resolutions, not who people think you should be, but being who you're supposed to be, who you want to be, and who you were created to be. The greatness in you. Today's mind, body, and soul, the quote is this: absence makes the heart grow fonder. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Now I'm gonna be transparent on this one today. As y'all know, I was on for about 2 weeks. And I went on a vacation with my family, my brothers and sisters, my siblings. We went on a cruise. Only person who was missing from this cruise was my stepdad, Big Lee. Shout out Big Lee. What's going on, my brother? Wish he could have went with us. But we were on this cruise, and it's the first time that I was able to celebrate my birthday with my brothers and sisters and my mother. probably since I was about 18 years old, where we were all together. I left home at 18 to join the military. And what I realized on this trip of being with them for the time we were on the cruise and we were together, I miss them. I truly miss my brothers and sisters and my mother and Big Lee. I miss my family. Let's just put it in those terms. I miss my family. And I say it in this time, in this sense, because it's one thing when you're in the military and you travel a lot and, you know, you leave home, you go and you find your own way and you're living your life and you're doing things. But when you get time to actually sit down and reminisce and talk about things in the past and laugh about certain things that, you know, we make up stories. Our mother said, y'all know that didn't happen. I don't know why you're doing it, but we're having fun doing that. It really opened my eyes to the point of absence makes the heart grow fonder, because I think if, in my mind, if I had left home, would I have taken my family for granted if I was able to see them every day? Would I be a different person than I am now? Would I appreciate them for who they are in my life and what they do for me and our interactions? Would I appreciate that as much if I would have stayed there as much as I do when I do get to spend that quality time? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I love my family. I enjoy my family. I appreciate my family. And it's one of those things where, you know, as we get older, we get more sentimental. We get more emotional about things. And there was a couple times when we were on the trip that I looked and it brought tears to my eyes. The fact that we were all able to do these things, to be out traveling, seeing different things, enjoying each other, laughing, pictures, and all these different things that you can think of. And I asked myself one time when we were taking pictures, and I posted one of the pictures with us on Facebook, which I don't do a lot of posting, as y'all know. But I looked at the picture and I said, wow, I miss my family more, probably more than I've led on to over these almost 40 years of being away, on and off. I say all this to tell you guys out there that if you miss someone, or if you are missing someone, reach out, find the time, spend the time, fit it in your schedule, plan those trips, do those things that you've been missing. As I mentioned a couple weeks ago, we ain't got too many more good summers once you get past 50. Yeah, I don't want to make this a bad moment, but I'm just trying to be real with you. In the time we have, take advantage of it. Take advantage of the things that you want to do. Take advantage of spending time with those you love. Take advantage of being in the presence of those that you miss, so you don't have those regrets later on in life saying, I wish, I should have, I could have. Don't get to that point. Spend that quality time now. Do those things. And I want to end this with about mind, body, and soul with this today. To my mom, Lucille, my stepdad, Lee, my brother, Terrence, sister Lynn, Yvette, as she likes to be called now that she's older, and my little brother, Dwayne. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Let's go and wrap this up for the day. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. I'll be back again next week. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, keep your faith in God. See y'all next week. Peace.